Today's lesson is Lesson 2, Grain Farms. Grains are staple foods used in most cultures around the world. Staple foods are known for their strong presence in the diet of a particular culture, usually because they grow easily in that region. Some grains you're likely familiar with are corn, rice, wheat, oats, and quinoa. Other grains you may be less familiar with, such as millet, sorghum, spelt, teff, amaranth, and canola. Grain farms look different depending on what grains they grow and what area of the world you find them in. They are massive operations in many developed nations that plant and harvest thousands of acres of land with huge modern equipment. Farming large amounts of land brings in higher yields that help to pay for the expensive equipment required for a large, modern farm operation and still turn a profit. In parts of the world that have less access to large machinery, the farms remain small. These farmers plant and harvest with their own hands or the help of a few beasts of burden. Education. Many grain farming operations are generationally family businesses. Children work on the family farm and eventually take over for their parents. However, there are many people who jump into agriculture with little to no knowledge of the industry, and it is a steep learning curve. How to grow grain, what kinds of pesticides to use, how to operate the machinery, where to find supplies, and so much more are all things that new farmers learn as they go. While learning from an experienced farmer is often the easiest and cheapest method of learning the ropes, many colleges offer courses and education to help support this important industry, especially if it is a large industry in their region. You might take a course on soil science and biology, botany, and plant growth, crop analysts, pests, and chemicals that may help manage them, or even specific training on machinery and how to operate and repair it. These type of specialized trainings are beneficial to anyone who wants to pursue a career in agriculture or learn more about a specific thing. While there are a variety of climates on Earth, there are different types of grains that grow well in each climate. The grains that grow well in your local climate usually cost less to purchase than those that must be grown somewhere else in the world. Historically, the grains that grow well in a local climate were the staple grains for that culture. Corn is grown abundantly in Mexico and Central America. It is a huge staple in a Mexican diet. In Europe and much of North America, yeast breads made from local grains are a staple in the diet. Many European nations are known for their pastries or bread, all made with flour from local grains, often wheat or rye. Head to nearly any restaurant in North America that isn't a specialty or ethnic-specific restaurant, and there will likely be a burger and a sandwich list on the menu. Both of these lists are full of meals that are served between bread generally made from wheat flour. In many parts of the world with a tropical climate, particularly Asia, rice is the dominant staple. Rice needs to be grown in the fields that are flooded with water. These paddies are dug into steps on a hillside in a farming technique called terracing, or are found in large flat spaces. Grains like sorghum grow best in dry regions. The largest amount of sorghum farmed in the world is found in West Africa. Many grains today have undergone a process called genetic modification. These plants are often called GMOs, or genetically modified organisms. The seeds of these plants have been altered to achieve a certain goal. Perhaps they are more resistant to a certain pest, or they can handle some types of herbicides that are used to control the weeds around them. While the reasons for using GMOs vary, some people are concerned about the potential health issue they could cause in the people or animals eating them. This has become a very controversial topic in grain farming. You often see grains in the grocery store in their whole form, cracked, rolled, or milled into flour. Have you ever wondered how these grains grow? Grains are the seeds from specific types of grasses. The stalks of these grains look like grass you may be used to seeing on a lawn. Others, like corn, look nothing like grass when they are fully grown. However, when you see a field of grain just beginning to sprout, you will see that it does indeed resemble a large, lush backyard lawn of grass. Modern machinery has made grain farming a much easier task. A field that would have taken hours upon hours of tireless plowing and seeding can today be prepared and planted in a short period of time with the help of tractors and special attachments. If you read the story of Ruth in the Bible, you will see that historically people harvested grain fields by hand, cutting down the stalks, gathering them together, and then threshing the grain from the full heads. All of these tasks were labor-intensive. The harvesting of grain was not only hard work, but it took a long time. Today, in many climates that have distinct seasons, the machinery farmers use is necessary to get these seeds in the ground quickly, so they have time to grow and mature before winter sets back in and the snow makes it impossible to harvest. One of the most amazing machines used on a grain farm is the combine. If you've ever driven past a field in the fall and seen a huge machine kicking up dust as it drives over a grain field, you have likely seen a combine at work. The idea of a machine that can combine the tedious task of harvesting and threshing grain at the same time have been around since the 19th century. The original idea required that the machine was pulled by horses and wasn't widely used. In the 1930s, a new idea was introduced to the world, a combine pulled by a tractor. Combines that have their own engine and did not need to be pulled by anything became available just in time for the Second World War. This was a time when the need was great for a large-scale farming with minimum manpower. These amazing machines could cut swaths of grain up to 18 feet wide, feed it into the combine, thresh the grain from the stalk, and deposit the clean grain into a truck to be transported to the grain silo. On a combine, straw, the leftover grain stalks, is released out of the back of the combine. There are different uses for the straw. Some farmers like to release it in a neat, tidy row so they can bale it and sell it or use it to provide bedding for animals. Others like to scatter straw as it comes out of the combine to be tilled back into the soil to decompose. While these large machines were originally designed to harvest wheat, they are now used to harvest many different kinds of grains today. Even rice, which is grown in flooded fields, can be harvested by grain combines. In the United States, rice fields are drained and allowed to dry. After the fields are dry, rice is harvested using similar machines that are used in the rest of the grain industry. Storage and processing. Once the grain is harvested from the field, it may be transported, stored, and processed before it can be packaged and sent to the store for purchase. Because grains are generally stored for a long period of time, farmers must be certain that their grains are completely dry before they store them. If the grain isn't dry when it is packed into a silo or other grain storages, mold will grow and ruin the grain. Because of this, farmers diligently check the moisture content of the grain as it comes off the field so they know if the grain needs to be dried before it is stored. The combine has a part called an auger that transports the grain up and out of the spout into a truck for transport. Once the grain is in the truck, it is either transported to a drying facility or to a silo where the grain is stored. When the farmer is ready to sell the grain, they will use another auger to load the grain back into the truck to take it to the packing facility. That facility will process or package the grains for final consumption. If the grains are being used for animal feed, they will either be cracked, rolled, or packaged whole. If they are designed for human consumption, they are taken to a facility that will process the whole grains and either package them for sale whole or grind them to make flour. Oats are often rolled or steel cut, and some products, like hot cereal, incorporate cracked or steel cut grains. Some grains, like canola, are processed into oil that are used for cooking and other uses. The seeds to the table. The seeds inside those grains you see gently waving in the breeze eventually make it to the shelves in our grocery stores. When they are finished being cleaned, processed, and packaged, the grains are then labeled with the brand name of the company that processed them and are shipped out to the store shelves around the country or even the world. Wheat is most often found in bags of flour or packages of pasta. Whole grain rice or white rice, rice with the bran or fiber removed, filled many shelves in the supermarket. Rolled oats are generally found in the cereal aisle of your local store. Corn flour and cornmeal is typically found with salsa and other Mexican-inspired ingredients. Other grains are usually found in specialty sections of the grocery store. You will probably find that grains that are grown within your own country are specifically cheaper than grains that are grown on the opposite side of the world. Try to take notice of this, where grains are grown and what prices are like, next time you're in the store. It's not unusual for two very similar looking products to have very different prices. Many things can contribute, though, through this. Some grains are grown organically, while others are grown conventionally. Organic farming typically costs more than conventional farming, and this difference is reflected in organic food prices tag. Organic farmers, in an attempt to create a healthier product, do not use harsh chemicals on their fields, even though these chemicals might be quicker, more effective pesticides and herbicides. Organic farmers aren't allowed to use genetically modified grains that are resistant to disease or that grow faster. All of these factors create a product that costs more than food farmed conventionally, but from many people it's worth it. Another factor making one brand cost more than another could be where the grain comes from. If a grain is harvested in a country that has different labor laws than your country, that brand might be cheaper if the company does not have to pay its farm helpers very much money. A different brand might cost more because it pays all of its laborers fairly. While these kinds of issues are sometimes exhausting to think about as you grocery shop, it is good to understand that there are reasons for price differences in the grocery store. Unless your family follows a strict, low-carbohydrate diet, you can likely identify a grain that is a staple in your house. Many whole grains are packed with carbohydrates. Carbs are, as they are often called, have a vital role to play in providing energy to your growing body. People all over the world generally get less than 50% of their food energy calories from carbohydrates. Without grain farms, our world would be pretty hungry. Hands-on activity. Use your shopping list from Lesson 1 and go to the store to shop. Compare the prices of different brands or types of food and discuss why they might be more or less. Make sure to look at where they come from, if they are organic or not, and other clues. This concludes Lesson 2 for today.